Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to, once again, Behind the Numbers. And Andrew doesn't have audio once again. It never stops. Folks, the Republicans have already lost the shutdown. They've lost it. They don't think they've lost it yet, but they have. The numbers are continuing to roll in, and the damage is continuing to mount. As I pointed out in an article this morning, we are now at the point where Mike Johnson's bad night in November 26th would have been 20 seats. And now, because of what's happening with the shutdown and with the economic collapse, we are getting into a point where it could be a 35-night seat. We have to all do a lot of work between now and then, but this is not good. This is turned into a very ugly moment for them, and it's turned into a very steep political precipice they're falling over. So, Andrew, can you hear me now? Are you back on?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. Let's get to it. Andrew, tell us where we're at. All-time low approval ratings.
All-time low. Yep.
Every week, it's a new low.
Every week, it's a new low. And it's a combination of factors. I think it's a lot to do with the economy right now.
Yep.
He's not going to recover from this.
No.
The economy is not looking like it's very steady or stable. We will continue to go down, continue
18
to trickle down.
points underwater, folks.
And it's still movement with independents. But you're also now seeing movement with white voters and male voters. So that is going to be a crisis.
Look, he sucks.
Net approval over time.
I mean, and folks, on paper, Biden's economy was worse than this on paper at this point in his presidency. In October of 21, Biden was still in a very deep COVID hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm told we have a golden age with trillions of dollars of money coming in, but
that's what I'm hearing. That's what they're saying. It's and he's got his new China trade deal, so that'll pull us out of the hole, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're fine now, right? It's all good.
So this is issue polling. Since he took office, it's just been a downward spiral on everything. We're not getting these government government data about the economy right now because of the shutdown, but people are clearly feeling the pinch, especially on inflation and prices. I think the thing to point out, and what I wrote about for LS this week, when Trump left office in 2021, his economic approval was still in the mid-50s. It was still solid. He never dipped below that because part of the reason is because the economy was doing pretty well. He hadn't managed to tank it, but now we're in a situation where it's the exact opposite. He has massive disapproval on the economy, and people, that whole Trump mystique that he's a great businessman, he'll handle the economy well. It's gone. It's just gone.
Shot to bits. And where this ends up playing out, here we go. That next chart is actually really relevant to us right now. Where it's playing out, folks, he's underwater in Florida. Okay, he's underwater in Texas. He's underwater in Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina and states that are going to be in major play next year.
All those swing states. So one of the things you hear repeated, ad infinitum is Trump has a mandate because he won the election and he won all the swing states. Well, now he's underwater in all those swing states. And if you modeled, the 2024 election to the polling today, he would not win. He would lose to Harris.
He would have gotten blown up. In fact, he would have gotten blown out.
Yeah.
Because let's remember, folks, he only won Texas with 53% of the vote. Texas. Y'all.
He won the election by a point and some change.
Yep.
They call it this big mandate. Of course, that's not true.
You can declare it all you want. It doesn't make it true. I can tell you I'm 6'4", but I'm 5'10". I ain't going to change.
So demographic approval, the things to notice here, the fact that he's underwater with men is pretty shocking. Trump has been consistently strong with men his entire political career, the last 10 years.
Last decade.
That's been one of his foundational demographics. And I'm surprised to see him underwater with men. But this just goes to show that his economic policy is universally hurting people.
Yeah.
I do not see, he might be able to recover somewhat in an election in 2026 on this with some of these demographics, but look at Hispanics. That's a demographic that pulled him over the line in several states, and that Republicans are now predicating their 2026 campaigns on.
Sure.
And he is deep underwater with Hispanic voters.
And as you and I have talked about on this show and talked about separately, and as Mike Madrid has laid out the case very clearly, every gain Trump had and Republicans had with Hispanic voters is not only gone, but it's reversed direction hard in the other direction. And every gain that he had with black voters is gone, and it's reversed in the other direction. Black men now have a Trump approval of under 10%. This is the greatest squandering of a political advantage that I've ever seen in my career. I mean, by far. I
don't know if Republicans are. I'm sure they're panicking, right? Like they have to be at this point. If you can't recover at least a few points with black voters and Hispanic voters, it's doom and gloom for Republican midterm hopes.
Again, I'm telling you, I think you could be looking at a 35-seat loss if these numbers hold up, if the economy does not improve, if you end up in with inflation still being the number one issue and being the issue in which Donald Trump is underwater by 32, 33 points. I mean,
so this is most important issues.
Yeah.
The economy is clearly ticking up and up and up. You look at 2022, middle of Biden's presidency, it spiked massively because of the inflation crisis. We are going far beyond that. And I think to go back to the demographics here, what black and Hispanic voters care about, and what they say they care about, is the economy. It's universal with most demographics, but especially with those particular demographics, they were suffering in the Biden economy, and Trump is making it a lot worse.
So Andrew, let me ask you this question, because I think this is an interesting point. Let's go back to that prior slide, Sam. Immigration here is showing at about 8% on this chart. And I'm curious about your thoughts. Is this play on immigration, has it reached the point where they're playing to the most incredibly narrow base to try to hold on to that 20% of Republicans who are driven by like pure racial animus and hatred? Is that the whole ball game here for them? Because they seem to me to be putting themselves in a very perilous situation on immigration. And I think it's also, maybe, I want to get your thoughts on this, a cautionary note for Democrats too on the immigration front, because the economy is the thing that fixes all the problems for one side or the other. Immigration seems like it's drilling the Republicans into a deeper hole.
Right. So my working theory here is that when Trump closed the border, right, he did stop migrants from coming over the border. He has overcorrected, in my opinion. And it's overcorrection without any legislation, without Congress being involved. It's done by executive order and through the agencies. He has created a world where immigration is less and less of an issue, and the enforcement is more and more of an issue. I do not see immigration playing the role they wanted to. It will become, you can see this with trans issues in the Virginia governor's race. Winsome Earl-Sears is running on transgender, this and that. She is crashing out on that issue. And you'll see the same thing in 2026, where Republicans try to run on immigration, but there's no there except for the Groypers, the Nick Fuenteses, and the Tucker Carlson types of the world. We're not a blood and soil country. I don't think people believe that stuff. I hope they don't. I think
a handful do, but I don't think it's even a plurality of the Republicans that are into that particular, like, Tucker-esque, white masculinity will save the Christian, world thing.
Yeah, I think by bringing in some of the nastier elements into the party, you saw this with the Heritage Foundation's
Sure.
video about response to the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes thing.
Right.
You bring in those nasty elements, and then you fracture the sort of loose coalition that he rode in on.
I mean, look, when you look at Heritage, folks, they were a gentry conservative, white glove, spats and top hats kind of group I mean, look, when Heritage was founded, I was like still in high school. And so my entire experience in politics up until just after the Tea Party moment, when Mike Needham took over as the executive director, and they suddenly decided they were going to be this nationalist, populist, ideologically driven, planners of the apocalypse. I think it's a really interesting thing that you brought that up, Andrew, because I watched that video of Kevin Roberts doing that, and even some people who are Trump supporters on the right were like, "Whoa, dude, come on, don't go Nick Fuentes on us." But when the Groypers are at Heritage, the world is inverted from traditional conservatism.
Yeah, I mean, somebody pointed this out yesterday online. Nazism is a 99-1 issue,
right?
And people will reject it outright, and that's why they are trying to. That's why they're so panicked about the elections. That's why Trump wants to put troops on the ground for the election. That's why the DOJ
election monitoring.
Come on,
yeah,
come on.
Well, I will say this also. I think the other thing that you see in that prior slide is that crime is down there in the 5% range. And folks, there's a reason for that. This goes back to what Andrew and I tell you guys about all the time. There are things people think they believe. Crime doesn't even it literally does not. It's one of those.
Does not appear.
What's one of those faded gray lines underneath the water there. People know whether they're in a dangerous spot or not. People know whether their grocery prices are higher or lower, gas prices higher or lower, electricity costs higher or lower, and crime is the big issue Trump thinks is going to get the Republican caucus to come back as a majority, and it's in the 5% bracket. Immigration in 8% bracket. Now, I will say this for Democrats, a cautionary note, right, Andrew? Healthcare is at 10%. Now, you think that's going to go up with ACA cancellations?
I do think it will go up. People are about to see that number on the 1st. They're about to see what it's going to cost them without the subsidies. It will tick up, and people. Yeah. I think there's no reason to ignore healthcare as a wedge issue. I think Democrats can't run on healthcare alone, but they can certainly use it for for some voters. It will be really important. The issue of crime, we see this in the polling all the time, and I know I talked about this before. We ask people if crime's an issue, and they'll say yes. It will be a highly rated issue. But then you ask them, do you feel like you could be a victim of crime? And they say no. Well, that's because it's Fox News. It's online. You see, crime everywhere. And Trump is, of course, spouting about Portland catching on fire and it's a war zone because he's watching videos from 2020.
Well, and when you end up keeping the only thing in the frame is a half of one block in front of the ICE headquarters, and it shows the tear gas canisters going off and the cops out in the street, and you're Donald Trump, you don't have the academic or the intellectual curiosity to go out and go, okay, well, what's really going on out there? Because look, I will pay $1,000 to a MAGA influencer who can show me where the rest of Portland is burning to the ground, where it is a smoking crater of radioactive ruin. Where
you're probably about to get bombarded with Sora videos. So.
Right. Well, and that to my mind is a bigger question for us to talk about at some point in the future is how are people starting to internalize the AI video and audio and textual content on the internet, and how is that going to drive polling? Because I think we are now not quite capable of immediately saying, "Oh, that's fake."
I think it's the ultimate confirmation bias.
Right. It
rocket
feels
ship
truthful.
right.
It's typical American. It's truthiness.
Right.
They're like, well, it may be a fake AI video, but of course Hillary Clinton did eat a baby.
But what does it
right?
say about society? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What does it say about society?
There was a viral video yesterday that was an AI video. It was a woman on the street in Atlanta, and she was saying how she, it was something about SNAP benefits where she's selling her SNAP benefits or some insanity, and
right.
People on the right are eating it up. It's it's waste, fraud, and abuse. The welfare queens are stealing our tax money.
Right.
Of course, it was fake. But there will be a percentage of people who believe that stuff, and it will be. Musk has no motivation to keep that kind of stuff off of Twitter.
No.
Meta doesn't really have a motivation to keep it off of Twitter. They're in with the presidency in many ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Look,
there will be a flood of these kind of videos.
I think, and look, you've seen the influencer push on the right now, and I think, folks, one thing you should realize is there's a reason for this influencer push. I promise you, their internal numbers on SNAP benefits and on essentially 44 million Americans in about 20 million households depend on SNAP benefits. And I promise you, starving kids, starving kids is a bad look.
Yeah, it's a really bad look. And there's not a lot of context in this country except for going back to the Civil War for hunger riots. And that is something that people should be very scared of. SNAP, one of the reasons SNAP exists was because during the Depression, of course, there were many hungry people, but there were also these massive farm surpluses. We already have an issue in agriculture. We already have farm bankruptcies running rampant. And when you cut off SNAP benefits, you will create farm surpluses as a result.
Yeah.
This is not just going to be people starving. It's going to be farms, more and more farms going under. It's going to be disastrous.
Well, I had a conversation yesterday. I think you're exactly on point. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody who, an ag person, who said to me, he said, every silo right now is full of soybeans. They still hope they're going to sell. And so that ag surplus, if it rolls in after they start doing this, there's nowhere to put it, y'all. There's nowhere to put it. And so you're going to end up with, I think another area we haven't factored in enough is Walmart and Target and Publix and Kroger and Safeway and HEB and everywhere else around the country. They have a large amount of income coming in from SNAP. Families are there. And folks, you can skip the whole right-wing bullshit like they're all just buying cigarettes and malt liquor. It's a stupid racial hill to die on, but they're going to try anyway.
Yeah.
But you're going to add one more area of economic crisis to the economy by doing this. And I guarantee you the Walmart folks, the National Grocery folks, the lobbyists for whoever the lobbyists are for Dollar General and those places are, they're ringing the bell in Congress right now, like, cut this fucking shit out.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see layoffs in those sectors in a massive way, like we are in many others.
Yeah.
So this is from Navigator Research. This is about shutdown blame. It's ticking up for Republicans. So I've repeated this several times.
I think this is our fourth show or fifth show that you've talked about this.
So
yes,
it typically stays quite stagnant where it starts and it doesn't really change. You don't see the numbers move all that much, but actually more people are starting to blame Republicans, especially among independents. This is the story that we've been talking about a lot. Independents are souring very quickly on the net blame for the shutdown. We went from plus 12, you can see where it's got the green box here.
Yep.
On October 20th, when this last Navigator Research poll was taken, up to plus 23 for the net blame for Trump and the GOP. That is significant. That is clear to me. And so this is the other part of the Navigator Research poll that we were looking at. You see Mike Johnson out here saying, we're seeing polls that are saying, it's looking better and better for us, blah, blah, blah. Clearly not the case.
I can tell you, even his professional pollsters that cover for the NRCC They're telling them this is a fucking disaster.
Yeah. When 52% of people say that Trump and Republicans have the power to end the shutdown, there's no question here.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
I think they've lost. I mean, I think this is one of those things that they're dead, but they're too done to lay down and start stinking. You know, they just don't have it together enough. Like, they don't have a comprehensive enough theory of the case, like how you get out of this. Because the minute they get out of this, they have to swear in Grijalva. The minute they get out of this, they have to go back to regular order to pass a CR. The minute you get out of this, they're going to send that discharge petition up the line. And I heard a thing yesterday from a Democratic member who said to me, watch what happens with some of these softer Republicans. They're getting extremely nervous right now. And they may even join the Epstein discharge petition now to start signaling to the membership or to the leadership that you can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So
that wouldn't surprise me. It does surprise me that the Republicans haven't broken already. You know, Trump can spin this as a win to his people because they believe everything he says. I don't know why he hasn't done that yet. I think it's his own stubbornness, his own ego.
Yeah.
You know, I think this will not necessarily end Mike Johnson's speakership, but he will certainly lose a lot of power and a lot of influence after the shutdown concludes. And I think the thing is, none of us want a shutdown.
No,
we don't want this to keep going. You know, eventually there's that $6 billion in SNAP money that has to be spent, which of course the president
in the contingency
can't
reserve.
Do. But when that runs out, I mean, the government shutdown.
It is fascinating that Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about any other kind of impoundment or rescission question. He'll spend whatever money he wants to spend from whatever pot he wants to spend it from, except for this. This is the one thing he can't.
Where did the money go? That's the question. If he can't spend it,
I want to know where that $18 trillion we've brought in is. That would fascinate me to see where that is on the balance sheet.
I'd be interested to see. Yeah, it's on the shelf.
Yeah, sure. What else we got today? The East Wing of the White House. Tell us how people feel about the East Wing of the White House.
Well, it's like a lot of issues. It's 2-1. People don't like this. They don't approve of it. And there was a poll today or a couple of days ago that even with Trump's explanation, they actually like it worse. They disapprove of it more with Trump's explanation for this. You know, you had a lot of conservative and right-wing pundits online and on TV saying people don't care. This is nothing. Nobody's going to care about this. Well, independent voters, voters broadly care about this. Even about a quarter of Republicans, when you dig into the crosstabs, disapprove of this. People do not like it. It is not good. 25% approval. You know, it's not a campaign-winning issue, but it's symbolic and it's important. And it's another notch for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that the presence of I think the ballroom also at this moment we're in has that Marie Antoinette vibe, has that, you know, tumbrils and pitchforks vibe of, yes, I'm building my golden ballroom while the kids are starving. And I think that dissonance between that is part of this is being driven by people don't like the fact that the White House is being torn to shreds. Part of it is it's being torn to shreds to put in a ballroom so he can suck up to people, or people can suck up to him rather, at a scale that's never been imagined before in presidential history.
And just take a look at that list of donors. Just you wait. They're going to get some kind of regulatory relief. They're going to get some kind of antitrust relief.
100%.
Just you wait. It'll only be a matter of time. And, you know, you had the United Airlines CEO yesterday, you know, essentially stumping for Republicans at the White House. I guarantee you he's going to get some kind of regulatory relief as a result of this.
Absolutely will. And look, why is Altria on there? Why is Reynolds Tobacco on there? Why is every tech firm out there that's worried about antitrust or AI regulation on there? They're just playing the game right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, crypto bros are next.
You got to wonder what their theory of the case is, because, you know, they believe that they can just throw money at this issue and eventually he will He will reward them somehow, but he will also punish them in the future.
Oh yeah, you're never done paying Trump.
It's going to be especially evident when it comes to the data center issue. A lot of people are saying that their utility bills are becoming, they're going up by hundreds of dollars every month.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's not necessarily all to do with data centers, people are blaming that.
It ain't nothing.
People are pointing at them. And when that becomes an issue for his voters and the people that he really cares about, he doesn't really care about anymore. Right. But the people he needs to be on sides, he'll turn on those. He'll turn on those AI companies in a heartbeat.
If it starts to truly hurt him, he there's no one he has ever hesitated to betray in his entire life. I will say this too. One of the things I saw the other day, a calculation to meet the power demand for the projected AI data centers that are going to be built in the next 2 years, we have to build either 650 coal and natural gas power plants or 80 nuclear power plants in the next 2 years. Since we haven't built a nuclear power plant in the last 50 years, well, maybe we built one, the one in Georgia that just opened.
Yeah.
It's going to take a massive public investment to do that. And again, maybe it's that $17 billion of tariff income that somewhere exists. But well, folks, once again, we've had another week of Donald Trump tearing apart his own coalition. This is why we keep encouraging people to stay active and stay involved. Don't feel like just because ICE is in the streets that you're losing politically. They're losing politically. They are in a position right now that is weaker than they have been for since probably the peak of COVID. And this has become an externality they can't spin, they can't get away from, they can't pretend it's not happening because it's happening. And for Democrats, I just want to give you two messages. I know you want to put a big white paper that says the negative externality impacts of the reduction of CFR 7-314 food aid for families under the SNAP benefits program will cause... No, stop. 2 lines. 2 lines, Democrats. Just 2 lines. Listen to them. Trump canceled Thanksgiving. Trump wants kids to starve. That's it.
That's all you need.
Speak English.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to Behind the Numbers. As always, thank you, Andrew. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Yes. We are going to be back with you again next Friday. I want to thank everybody else for sticking with me for the last couple of weeks. I have been in the final push of turning in the first draft of my new book, and I've been writing about 16 hours a day, and it is exhausting and depressing because so many people suck. But I think you're going to like it. It's exciting. It's going to be it's different. It's not just a Trump book. It's bigger and a real call to arms. So appreciate all of you for sticking with us. Tune in every Tuesday to the strategy session here on Lincoln Square. Thursday nights with the breakdown. Fridays here again, as always, on Behind the Numbers. You can also catch me on my Against All Enemies Substack. You can also catch Lincoln Square content. Andrew writes for Lincoln Square now, and he puts up polling and political analysis there every week. And we've got a great stable of other folks, including check out the new show, Protect and Serve with Maya May and Mike Fanone. It's awesome. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving and a great weekend. We will see you again next week.